Speaking of the 2023-2024 NFL season, earlier this year, we had coaches we were talking about that are on the hot seat. Who's going to go? And one of the most common names is one that was let go yesterday in Riverboat Ron Rivera. The writing was on the wall. They've got the second overall pick. I think that the NFL currently, like in this current stage of NFL, the model that teams are going to want to follow is a young offensive coordinator move to a head coaching position to have an offense. You have to have an offense in this league right now. If your offense isn't humming, you are not winning games. The days where Derrick Henry can run the ball 330 times a season and you play good defense like the Titans did a few years ago, that's done. That doesn't work anymore. You have to have a prolific offense. Riverboat Ron fired. Who do you guys think comes? Also, what do you think about them bringing in Myers as a consultant, former Washington or Golden State Warriors? They brought him in as a consultant to hire their new head coach. What? I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah, that is weird. But I mean, they're just hoping that it's more so they're looking for maybe he can see that a guy can build a culture, maybe not so much of a football aspect. It's just a leadership. What can he bring to the organization just really from the culture standpoint? And Myers, sure, I mean, they spent money, but they still were a winning culture, and they really did build it through draft and Golden State. And so it's like, can they turn that into the NFL? Same kind of room. I don't know if they can do that. Different sports, how we're gonna see how it goes, but I guess it can't hurt when you've been this bad for this long. You got to just look anywhere, right? So yeah,
bring in someone. Before we get into today's video, guys, I just want to give a special shout out to today's sponsors, starting with Gold Fine and Bowles, lawyers for the injured. Personal injury, workers' compensation, those are their two things, but any sort of legal advice, they're the people to call. Give them a phone call, 309-673-5144. Tell them we sent you, okay? And I'd also like to shout out SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video as well. Use promo code PlaybookSports on their website to get $20 off your first purchase of $30 or more. Let's get back to the video. Who's won at least somewhere in professional sports.
Shit, if the Bears asked Theo Epstein and said, yo, what can we do to get the Bears good? Would I be pissed? I'd be like, what are we doing? But if he got it right, man, shit, who knows?
Right. And Washington, it's not like they have some great history of winning. It's like, we got to try something. Nothing's worked yet. Got to try something.
They've been bad for a long time. Our whole lives, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy to bring in a basketball guy to make a football decision or help console with a football decision. But like you guys have already talked about, it's got to be like a culture thing, a judge of character thing. He's going to be able to ask the right questions or get a read on a specific candidate if he's, worth it or not. And I do think, I might be wrong on this. Correct me if I am wrong. I think Magic Johnson was involved in the group that bought the Commanders.
He was.
So I wonder if that's kind of like his influence. Like, hey, this guy's a great, talent evaluator, a great character, judge, whatever. Bring him in and just let him sit on the panel for an interview, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And give
because he's not like, they didn't hire him to be GM. They just hired him to be there throughout the coaching, hiring process. I'll be shocked if it's not Bieniemy, to be totally honest. Like, he's in building. He knows the boys. You have the number 2 overall pick, which will be used on a QB. I think it'd be a failure, an organizational failure, if he's not promoted to head coach. Yeah, I would be shocked.
Agreed. They have the guy in building. You said he's in building. Do not let him leave. Do not let him get out of there without a fucking deal as head coach. Come on.
Agreed.
Oh, I agree with that as well. Obviously, the Chiefs haven't been the same since he left.
No. Well, that's what they get with Matt Nagy at offensive coordinator. Let's go.
He makes a difference. But also, I've heard rumors of the Falcons being interested. Could you just already be like, hey, all I need is a quarterback, and they already got the weapons?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bieniemy kind of has his pick of the litter now.
He does.
Yeah, he really does. He really does.
Good. There's going to be, I think, Bieniemy, and I think Ben Johnson from Detroit, and I think Bobby Slowick out of Houston are going to be the 3 big names for head coach. And John Harbaugh, obviously, if he decides after I've won the title, I'm good.
Jim
Harbaugh. Sorry. Unless
he's
John
not
Harbaugh
going
retires.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh retires after they lose to the Browns in the divisional round.
Actually, possibility of John Harbaugh retiring if he wins the Super Bowl and Mike McDonald being our new head coach.
He steps in. Oh, there you go. That's a good contingency plan. I like that. Another coach fired yesterday, Arthur Smith. Thank God.
Been calling for it.
About time. I bet
when I got the script for the Falcons season, man, some Falcons fans were pissed, and I was saying, listen, man, it's Arthur Smith. He's got to go. You guys got to get rid of the coach, address quarterback, and that's what they're going to obviously do. But, man, it's a year late. Y'all stuck around a year too long with your coach and quarterback, and look what's going to happen now because you have the weapons. you have a defense that's pretty damn good. That should be your division. But if you're scrambling now, I mean, you got to have to mortgage a little bit of the future if you trade up for a quarterback. If not, who are you going to go get that's available? I mean, Russ, it's like, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, they pick at 8. My mock draft today, spoiler, I did have Jaden Daniels falling to them at 8, but I think Atlanta is a team that if Chicago tries to move off of Fields, that's Fields' landing spot. I think if Chicago says we're going pick 1, we want to get Fields traded, I think Atlanta is a perfect place.
And they have Ryan Pace. He's not the GM, but he is in the building. So it's the Atlanta Bears. Like, he will definitely be in their ear saying, hey, I drafted this kid. I see everything. And obviously, like, they want that fit to begin with. But still, yeah, I think that is the spot if they move on from him for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch because I missed it, actually. I wasn't watching when the Saints, the players went rogue and ran in the touchdown. And then Arthur Smith got pissed at Dennis Allen. It's like, dude, like, I'm sorry, you can't get mad. Like, yeah, okay, it sucks because they were lined up to take a knee and then they faked it and handed it to Jamal Williams. That looks really shitty. Also, stop him. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you got absolutely decimated in a game you had to have on your home field, I think. Or it was in New Orleans. It was in New Orleans. Either way, absolutely blown out. Your team hates you. The media hates you. It's like, do something about it, dude. I don't know. I'm not an Arthur Smith fan. I was sick of him all season long, just constantly going away from the stars. If I'm anybody worth a damn, I have no interest in playing offense for Atlanta. None.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of our. Oh, go ahead, Sage. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it just made me more of a Jameis Winston fan more than anything. That's all I saw. I mean, obviously, he said Jamal Williams, he had 17 touchdowns last year, doesn't have one this year. Let's get him one in the final minute of the season, and completely disregarded whatever DA was trying to say. Like, we're gonna kneel it out. Absolutely not. But so far, you see a whole bunch of Saints players sticking up for Jameis.
Oh yeah.
Even Jimmy Graham went on to say, hey, like, he's the best teammate I've ever had. He's exactly who I want, like, to be on my side. And then he ended the tweet with "fuck the Falcons."
Yeah. Go ahead, Colin. What you were gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say, speaking of just Arthur Smith getting the chop, not surprised, as we mentioned all year, just never really figured out how to use the personnel that the front office provided him with. And it was almost a little in over his head, if you want to say. But I do think he'll probably get another opportunity at some point. Talking about that specific play, though, quickly, I'm an old head kind of guy. I don't like the if you're going to run it up, just come out in the I form and just put it right in his chest. Just come out in the I form, goal line set, put it in his chest. Because when you're a defender against the kneel, how pissed are you as an offensive player? Someone just bull rushes into you. And you're like, whoa, we're kneeling. And then, the defense like, okay, we're going to give you the courtesy pass pro. And then we're just going to shake hands and whatever. And then, no, you're all of a sudden getting pancake blocked because you're running an inside zone to a bum who you overplayed in free agency that you couldn't get into the end zone until they charity it. They charity gave you a touchdown at the end of the season. Bullshit play. If I was the Falcons, I'm not even feeling the kickoff. I'm in the locker room. We're gone. Finish the game. Once I kick it to yourself and run it up yourselves, I'm gone. I'm in that locker room. I'm flicking you off and I'm walking off the field. I'm not shaking your hand, and you're lucky if I'm not diving at knees or punching people in the head.
True. Last game
Bush League is all hell.
Yeah.
Just out of the I form, or just out of the victory formation. If you want to go out of the I form, whatever. Did I lose $500 in a parlay because they went over the total on that touchdown? Yes, I did. That's not why I'm so salty.
No, of course not.
About 80% why I'm salty, but it's not the whole reason why I'm salty. But come on the I form and just run it up. Be a man about it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a sucker punch in a fight. It's like, okay, we're arguing, and all of a sudden a quick sucker punch from behind. And it's like, whoa. It's like, no, come out and square up and be a man, and let's just fucking run an actual play. Don't come out here out of the I form. And when we talk about coaches that either have been fired or might still get fired, spoiler, a coach in this game might be one of those guys, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's not the guy already fired.
No, it can't be him. Yeah, I get it.
But I don't know.
So then the new one, obviously the head coach fired this morning, fired an hour or two ago, Mike Vrabel out as the Tennessee Titans head coach. I am stunned by that move, honestly. I guess I get it. They're moving away. It's an end of an era. Derrick Henry said his goodbyes. You've got a young quarterback. You want to have an offense around Will Levis at this point in time. But man, I thought he'd have to quit or retire to ever leave Tennessee. I figured he was there. I mean, I am shocked. What are you guys' first thoughts on that firing?
I know I said it a little bit before we started the pod, but like I'm shocked that they didn't try to get something out of him.
Yeah.
Recently we've seen, excuse me, we've seen different coaches get traded, like the Sean Payton
First
trade
round pick for Sean Payton.
pick. You could get something out of Mike Vrabel, who is now a tier 1 head coach prospect in the NFL. He's going to go somewhere. Whether that be going back to New England and, restarting whatever that is, or he can pick up, one of these 6 spots that are available right now, or 5, because Tennessee just dumped him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But regardless, he's a hot commodity.
Yeah, he'll get picked up quick.
Yeah, and I'm completely shocked that Tennessee went ahead and fired Vrabel. What did you expect with the situation he had? I mean, his first 4 years, you come in with a Tannehill that's been written off by the Dolphins, written off by the league, rightfully so. Comes in, I mean, you make the AFC Championship game, you're a game away from the Super Bowl. And then 2022, 2023, you're still with Tannehill at quarterback, and this guy was already done when he got there. Vrabel's able to squeeze out 4 years of pretty damn good football.
Yeah.
And then it finally hits a cliff with Tannehill. We're shocked that they struggled because they don't have a good quarterback. And like you said, Nate, their offense is a little bit more run game than it should be. Obviously, the game is changing, more pass heavy, but still, it's just overreaction to 2 bad years in a row after 4 really good years when you really weren't expected to be as good as you were. You were an AFC powerhouse, really. And at the end of the day, and I really think it's an overreaction to a couple bad seasons. And I said it in our text. Just looking at the division now, though, I mean, Colts have a really bright future. Texans have a bright future. Jags obviously is the question mark now, but it's like you think they have a good future. At least you hope you do if you're a Jags fan. Tennessee, if you get this wrong with the wrong coach and you turn Levis into a bust, you're going to be bad and the worst team in your division for potentially 6-7 years because all these other teams have good young quarterbacks. I get wanting to go get an offensive guy for Levis, but you got to make the right hire here, and you have to go big for a guy like Ben Johnson. Hey, top two coach money.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get top 5 anyway. So let's make you one of the highest paid ever because we need you because we got to get this right with Levis.
Yeah. Yeah. It just made this offseason that much more crucial for them to get it right. Like Vrabel was at least steady. You knew what you were going to get. Good defense and a power running football team. That's what you're going to get. You're going to win probably anywhere. I mean, this year they won 5 games, 6 games, but you're going to get, anywhere from the 7 to 10 range. You're never going to blow people out, but you're always going to be in every single game. You're going to be annoying to face. Now it's like, okay, what are you going to go do? Who are you going to bring in? You've got to nail this hiring. Otherwise your next decade is screwed.
I know it's done. If they lost to the Jags and they ended the season on a 4-game losing streak, sure. They just knocked out the 1 seed of their division and keeps them out of the playoffs. Vrabel got the boys ready to go in a meaningless football game. Obviously, it's not meaningless to the players, but still, in a game that they are out, the team's ready to play, and they knock off a team and keep them out of the playoffs, a division rival. That's just that's tough, man. That's tough.
Agreed.
2 things on this firing quickly. Number one, from the Mike Vrabel side of it, I'm thrilled for him because what a dumpster fire that roster is overall in Tennessee. And he's really, had a lot of influence in why they've been so successful, even though a 6-11 year this year. But why they've been kind of that annoying, scrappy team you don't want to face is because of his coaching and his mentality he brings to the game. But the second thing here from Tennessee side, like this is almost reminiscent of the A.J. Brown trade. It's like, well, what is management doing? It's like you're just letting a quality talent. We talk about it all the time. How many good quarterbacks are there in this world? 30, 25?
Yeah, 20, 25.
15, like elite, like 10 elite quarterbacks in the world. How many elite head coaches are there in the world? And I'm not saying Mike Vrabel is an elite head coach because we haven't seen him, make a Super Bowl or win, yada, yada, yada. But how many good quality head coaches are there out there? And you're just letting one walk for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iron, not even trying to trade him.
Because you look around the rest of the division, as you mentioned, like the Colts with Steichen and Richardson, Ryans and Stroud, and then you got Peterson and Lawrence. It's like from everything I've seen, Mike Vrabel didn't have all that much input in the front office decisions as far as roster, more than the normal head coach would have, little input here and there. It's not like he was making all these decisions. So it's just like the management team of the Titans have let them down more than anybody else in that organization. They haven't gone out and made these splash draft picks. They haven't gone out and got these signings. Although DeAndre Hopkins was great this year, but the rest of the division has
traded
AJ
A.J.
Brown.
Brown.
They're just looking for a scapegoat.
Yeah.
It's not,
And
not
again,
Mike Vrabel.
it's not like a scenario where it's Atlanta, Arthur Smith, never really the worst team. I mean, Atlanta was always decent under him, but never reached what they wanted to get to. Vrabel exceeded expectations in his early career in Tennessee. For 4 years, they exceeded expectations. I don't get how you don't take that into account. Like Atlanta's moving on from a guy that had 7 wins, I'm pretty sure, every year, but they never broke 10. And it's like Vrabel reached an AFC Championship game with a roster that no one thought could, man. That should say something, but again, that was a while ago, but still, I get it's what have you done for me lately, but man, they're going to be regretting this if they don't hire the right coach.
I mean, I feel like if I'm a Tennessee Titans fan right now, I'm pissed that we fired Vrabel, but I would be over the moon if Ram Carthon was fired. If their GM was fired, you got something to look forward to. New management to potentially fix and build a team the correct way that Vrabel could actually do something with. There was 2 options to go, and they picked the wrong one yet again.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that's going to come too. Maybe they're just like, screw it. Vrabel's gone. Tannehill's going to be gone. Derrick Henry got the mic after the game, so he's gone. Maybe they just like, okay, GM, go ahead. We're just going to start completely fresh.
Yep, reset.
But talking about Vrabel, like I'm pretty sure his first year in Tennessee, maybe it was his second year, he took Ryan Tannehill to New England and ended the Patriots dynasty. Brady's last game in New England was a playoff loss to Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill in Foxborough.
God bless.
It's like at that point, you just, hey, here's a blank check, Mike.
Yep. Here's a
You fill
long
it out.
lifetime contract.
Yep. You fill it out and send it back to us to sign, and we'll be good.
Yep. Bingo. Yeah.
I don't get it. I really don't. But
It's everything you guys said. Like, there's only a handful of good head coaches, and Vrabel has proven to be one of the guys that can get his players up for a meaningless game. Like, the only thing that meant anything in this game was DeAndre Hopkins hitting an incentive. But the defense came out and played against a Jaguars team that had literally everything on the line and beat them and ended their season. I mean, that takes a good leader to do something like that. And that's what Vrabel is. He's a good leader, man. You want to follow that guy. So tough to go there. But then last thing on coaches, we're not done yet with firings. I don't think. I am certain that there are going to be more in the coming days, especially now that there's a quality head coach out there. It's like, ooh, is Vrabel an upgrade? Maybe he's an upgrade. Who are some coaches that you guys are looking at right now as being someone you're like, okay, this guy might be next? Addison, I'm going to start with you. Who have you got listed?
Well, Vrabel getting fired does make it interesting for Dennis Allen's. I think he was maybe a little bit more secure before Vrabel got chopped, but now Vrabel's on the market maybe. But I still think Saints going to keep Allen, sadly, for Saints fans. But I'm going to go coordinator, sadly not a coach, but it's a little close to home. But I think Getsy's gone today as of when we're recording this. If not, I'm scared Bears don't fire coaches after Tuesday, after Black Monday. So if he doesn't get chopped now, he's sticking around. But I think it's going to be Getsy. Just not enough consistency from the offense while he was calling plays last couple of years. And Eberflus is sticking around. He's made it through Black Monday, and I think he's going to be here to stay. And there's a guy he's got in the market to call plays. That's his old buddy, and they can just flip-flop titles. Frank Reich. I mean, he's available to call plays, and I don't think he's going to be getting a head coaching opportunity immediately after the failure of Carolina, albeit that's Tepper's fault. But hey, you've got a relationship with Eberflus. You've been there, done that. Sure, he's the head coach now. I don't think there's going to be a weird dynamic. They're good friends. I think I'm surprised Frank Reich didn't get hired mid-season to end the year as a guy just to help the offensive specialist guy without a title. And instead, though, I think he's going to become the OC, get hired, he's getting chopped. I think Frank Reich steps in and is going to be the Bears play caller next year. And I think that'll probably be done in a matter of this week. Again, I think Getsy's chopped today.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. I think Getsy's got to go because I think that there's a ceiling with him as play caller. And I think we maybe have seen it with that little run that Fields had where he looked good. It's like, okay, but we still couldn't do it against Green Bay. We still only put up 10 points in a big game that we wanted to have badly. It's okay, there's our ceiling. We've reached our ceiling, 7-10 with you calling plays.
One of our wins to end the season was a touchdownless football game against the Vikings. So great that we won that football game. Glad, but still won it without scoring a touchdown. And hopefully Frank Reich can come in and fix it. We'll see. I think he got a bad shake in Carolina. So especially with the fact that fractured relationship immediately when Stroud starts having success.
Yep.
So hopefully he can come to the Bears and right the ship on offense because we need help bad. But that's
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Colin, coach that you've got on the chopping block, where are you looking?
Well, since Addison went coordinators, I'll give two coordinators first, and they're both on the same team in the same division on the Philadelphia Eagles. I could see both Brian Johnson, offensive coordinator, and Sean Desai / Matt Patricia, just all three, just making the same bus out of 10. Just to collapse offensively, play calling, losing Shane Steichen, what their offense looked like this year without him, horrible. What their defense looked like all year, horrible. I can see both of them getting the chop, obviously. I mean, Sean Desai is already halfway out the building. And then coach, I mentioned it earlier, I spoiled it. Dennis Allen. It's just such a weird thing to say. Coming into the season, I kind of thought he might be on the chopping block because I did think the Saints had the best chance to win that division, looking at rosters to start the season. And they ultimately have it, they're in the hunt. They're at the end of the season. They don't get it. They're playing kind of a meaningless game, although, if they win and a bunch of other things happen, maybe they have a shot. But it's just the fact that the players are comfortable enough to overrule your decision and be like, hey, we're going to do this. And then guess who's going to have to answer for that? You are going to have to answer for that as the coach. And it's just like, how much respect do you really garner? How much respect do you have in the locker room to where a playoff or a player is going to come out and say, you know what, coach, that's okay. I'm going to do me instead. We're going to get this touchdown. And then if you get your ass kicked after the game by a guy that's 200 pounds heavier than you, who cares? It's on you for being the coach. So I think there's question marks in New Orleans, not only for roster and salary cap and everything else, but also, is their coach respected? Does he still have the locker room? Ultimately, at the end of the day, do they respect his decisions?
I almost wonder if Dennis Allen is strictly safe so that they don't screw over their next guy, because you're going to come into this dog shit situation with the worst cap spot, Derek Carr, who's not working out, and it doesn't work out soon. It's going to boil over and be blown up. So it's like, shit, maybe we got to keep Allen so we can scapegoat him later. But you're not wrong, though, Steve. So the locker room's doing stuff like that.
That's true.
No respect. I mean, you're telling me, again, I get it at different times, but Patriots in their prime, you're not listening to Bill? You're not listening to Belichick. You're going to do something when he says take a knee, you're not taking the knee. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
If Matt Castle or Jimmy Garoppolo or Brian Hoyer or any of other backup for the Patriots went out there and audibled to a touchdown, do you think Belichick's letting that guy ever put on a uniform again?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell no.
And
Hell no. At least not New England.
Belichick because he had ultimate success. Okay, you think Pete Carroll's letting that slide? You think Tomlin's letting that slide? You think Harbaugh's letting that slide? It's like
Tomlin might actually kick the dude's ass on the sideline.
Yeah, no, straight up. He'd be running over there with the other team's coach. Yeah. Both. Yeah.
Two other candidates I will throw out there as long shots. I don't think either of these guys are fired just because I think the teams and the management's going to want to see what they do next season. Both in the AFC, and both of them had beef this season. I could see Robert Saleh potentially getting the hack, but I could also see them saying, you know what, let's give him a full year with Aaron, and let's see what this team looks like with Aaron for a full year. Sean Payton. I know that sounds absolutely crazy because he comes out of retirement. They give up the draft pick. They give him whatever contract. But also, like, how much of a dumpster fire is Denver willing to have? They're already going to move off for us after this year. We screwed up that trade, one of the worst trades in the league. Thank goodness Deshaun Watson happened in the same offseason or a year. No, it was the same offseason, right?
Same offseason, I think.
Thank goodness that trade happened the same offseason. Otherwise, this trade might be talked about a lot more than it already should be. You're moving on from your quarterback. Do you just go ahead and just say, you know what, we're just going to move on from everybody and we're just going to start as fresh as we can? Or do you say, you know what, Sean Payton, you didn't want Russ. We're going to go ahead and give you your shot at your pick of the litter. And if you stink next year, we're going to give you a year. And so I can see either of those two guys going. I can see the two teams saying, we're going to give you another year. And then after that year, we'll reconvene and talk about the future. But I wouldn't be surprised if those two guys got chopped. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I would say I'm jumping in because you mentioned mine and Robert Saleh. Honestly, he hasn't been any good the last several years. Yes, you can blame the quarterback situation. I understand that. So I'm going to give him a pass for the records because he has had bad quarterback play. But what I'm not going to give him a pass for is that 4 snaps into the year, they lost Aaron Rodgers. And what did he do to replace it? Nothing. Not a single thing. I know the GMs make the personnel decisions. I get that. You're telling me he can't go to their GM, Joe Douglas, be like, listen, man, this isn't going to work. Zach Wilson is not the guy. I mean, when you put Tim Boyle out there at quarterback as a starting quarterback in this league, you deserve to be fired on the spot because he has no business starting an NFL game for an NFL team. The guy threw 1 touchdown and 13 interceptions in college. He has no business even being on the roster. Robert Saleh reminds me a lot of Brian Flores as a head coach. This defense is going to be good. Our offense, I don't know what I'm doing. And if the offense can't handle itself, then we're just going to lose a bunch of games because my defense is going to get exhausted playing 75% of the snaps because we can't figure out the offensive side. And he didn't think, like, he brought in Nathaniel Hackett off of a horrible run in Denver because he's Aaron's boy. You know, they brought in Alan Lazard for 4 years, $44 million, who's a healthy and active at the end of the season for multiple games. It's like, you're the coach, man. You know what your team, you see your team, and he chose multiple times to let's bench Wilson and then bring Wilson back. You know, Wilson's hurt, but he's fine, but let's bench him and then put him back in. It's like, okay, way to first of all kill any confidence the kid could have. Any confidence is gone because you're starting Tim Boyle over him per your decision. I just think that he hasn't managed these situations well. And I think he has a very low ceiling, and they're probably close to reaching it at 8 or 9 wins. I think that's the best you can hope out of Robert Saleh as a head coach. Is the talent, is the roster super talented? Absolutely on the defensive side. And they've got weapons like Garrett Wilson. But he signed off on this quarterback room and thought this was the wave. And it was not. It was not the way to go. I mean, it was 4 snaps in. Like, yeah, you lost Rodgers the first game. Fix it right away. You have the whole season ahead of you. And instead you're like, Tim Boyle might be it. Wrong. And that falls on the head coach and it falls on the GM. I think both of them should be at least on the hot seat. Maybe not fired this year because, like you said, Colin, you lost Aaron Rodgers and we get it. But Aaron Rodgers behind that offensive line didn't stand a chance. He didn't stand a chance for the season. I mean, they were just getting sack all day. Terrible. It's malpractice.
And real quick, Nate, while we're still on the Jets here, just another thing. You lose Aaron Rodgers on September 11th. Okay, stay with me. September 11th, Rodgers goes down. September 26th, you sign Trevor Siemian to your practice squad. September 26th, Joe Flacco is signed on November 20th to the Browns. 2 months later, you could have had Joe Flacco for 10 weeks after Aaron Rodgers goes down. And you're like, you know what? Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson, maybe Trevor Siemian. Joe Flacco was right there for 2 months.
Called them.
Yeah.
Called them.
Oh, my
Said,
God. The Jets. Oh, my God.
Yep. And look what Flacco's done with a similar situation as the Jets, but with the Browns. With the Browns, he has been very, very good. And they also lost their quarterback, and they also have a really good defense. And it's like, you guys just weren't interested in him at all. Like,
really good defense, really good run game, number 1 wide receiver. I mean, the Jets and the Browns are weirdly similar roster construction, weirdly similar.
Yep. Yeah. And one of them is what, 11-5 or 11-6, and in the playoffs and looking like a dangerous team. And the other one is at home and done for the year. I don't know.
They had 10 weeks to sign Flacco. 10 weeks.
That's the crazy one. Because like, yeah, okay, well, he's not the GM. He doesn't sign people. But the GM is saying, hey, what's practice looking like? What are you seeing out there?
Do you believe in any of these quarterbacks we have?
Yep.
Yes.
I believe can these guys get the job done? Yeah, I think they can. No, I don't know what you're watching, but they can't. And they couldn't. And it cost them a season. It cost them a season of elite defense. Because every year they're just wasting another year of that defensive side of the ball. That is a Super Bowl caliber defense. And they're just pissing it away because they can't figure out the offensive side.
Those young contracts aren't going to last forever. Soon you got to start paying guys or letting them go, and that defense is going to be gone.
Yep, because they're going to be pricey. Yep. Sage, what coaches / coordinators do you have on the chopping block as of today?
You know, I've got one that not a lot of people are talking about right now, but I think this is going to be a big slingshot for them in the future. They're in the playoffs right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're going to fire Todd Bowles after this season. Past 2 years, they've gone 9-8 and 8-9. Before that, they had Brady, got knocked out in the playoffs in the divisional round by the Rams. But you haven't done anything since you had Tom Brady on your team. Okay? Granted, you won the division twice. Once with a losing record, and once with almost a losing record.
Nearly.
Both those times, did you get saved by your offense? No. No, you did not. In fact, your defense did most of it, which Todd Bowles, we've all known, is a great defensive coordinator. And that's where we all believe he should stay, you know? But I think they already found the replacement in Dave Canales, their offensive coordinator right now. Dave Canales last year was the one that orchestrated a Geno Smith comeback player of the year, you know, in Seattle. He comes over there and makes Baker Mayfield look capable as a quarterback in the NFL. You know, Baker Mayfield, let's be very honest about Baker Mayfield. He had a great year this year. But should he have? Or did he just have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to throw to with Rachaad White coming up in his second year? How many quarterbacks could do that? I think a lot of quarterbacks could put up similar numbers. And I love Baker Mayfield's tenacity, but I think Dave Canales is a real mastermind behind all of this. And obviously, they were winning with an offensive-minded coach. They had Bruce Arians.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, you're winning. Granted, you had Tom Brady, but the last year of Brady, a little sketchy. So give me Baker Mayfield for another year and let Dave Canales build around him. Or if Dave Canales comes in, let's let him pick a quarterback. Let's let him go through the season and show what they're actually capable of. Instead of just focusing on this defense, you can find another defensive coordinator somewhere. I mean, hell, there's a few that got fired.
Yeah.
There's a few that are up and coming right now. I mean, they're every single year they're available. So I like Todd Bowles to get fired this year if ownership is willing to take the next step, because right now, how many times have we seen a coach get fired for being middling for too long?
Yeah. I mean, the Bucks, with their whole season on the line, scored 9 points against Carolina. That is an issue. You can't have that in a game that you absolutely have to have. And they lost the week before to the Saints in pretty rough fashion. They're fortunate that they played maybe one of the easiest schedules I've ever seen. And they did it to the tune of 9 wins. I mean, they played very few teams that we're going to see again this weekend. I mean, they get a rematch against the Eagles, and the Eagles beat them 25-11 earlier this year in Tampa Bay. And it's like, oof, that could be tough. Yeah, I didn't like Todd Bowles being elevated to head coach. I feel like the job was handed to him. Bruce Arians is out. Todd Bowles is here. Let's just elevate him. He'll work on the defensive side. Brady's got us on the offensive side. And now Brady's gone, and the offensive side of the ball has been maybe better than it should be, but I agree. I do think you go with the OC. I think you elevate him. I think that he's the guy, he's the brains behind Baker Mayfield's resurgence. 4,000 yards for Baker, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. That's a great season out of Baker Mayfield. A very, very strong season, we'll say. And Mike Evans, again, just doing the thing. 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. Awesome. What a stud. Godwin was good. Rashad White was good. Their offensive line isn't that great. They got the most out of a bad roster, but I think that that's offensively. I don't think Todd Bowles should be a head coach in the NFL, personally. He'd be a good he's one of those guys where it's you just be a coordinator.
Agreed.
I'll push back a little bit because I don't know. I'm feeling a little feisty today. Feeling
all
fiery,
right.
As I'm sure you guys could tell by the first 45 minutes or how long we've been recording. Just an absolute fire cannon, firecracker. Oh shit! Didn't even think about firecracker. Oh, that's a good one. I'll push back because not only just because they made the playoffs, so I think inevitably that saves a coach just strictly making the playoffs in a season where I think we all predicted them to finish last in their division, if not, at least third place in their division. So I think just strictly making the playoff might buy him one more year. Like you said, Sage, if they take that leap of faith and, think about progressing their future moving forward, maybe they go to the offensive guy. But I'll push back on that as well. Season on the line, your offense puts up 9 points in Carolina. That's your offensive guy you're fighting for. Guess who's your head coach you're wanting to chop? They put up a goose.
0.
In Carolina. Oh, I'm not arguing Carolina's any sort of high-powered juggernaut offense. Do not get it twisted.
No,
but
Carolina
I don't think
0
Todd
points
Bowles is a head coach for the long term by any sort of exaggeration.
Right.
But I think he might have just bought him another season, just strictly making the playoffs, winning the division.
Yeah. See, I could see that if they keep Baker Mayfield, but I have a feeling that they're going to move on.
Okay, I agree with that.
If they go with a younger guy, they're going to have to go with a different coach, just because I don't think Todd Bowles can really sustain, elevating a rookie or a young quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, did Baker and Bowles save their jobs by making the playoffs this season, or are both of them gone? I think
Baker might have priced himself out of Tampa Bay. They have no cap space going into next year, and he's like, I just threw for 4K and 28 touchdowns.
Yeah. Atlanta, what's good?
Yeah, what's up? It was a 1-year deal. Someone's going to have to pay me. There's a ton of teams that could use a relatively stable veteran presence like Baker Mayfield all of a sudden can provide. And it's like Tampa Bay, you've got $4 million in cap space. That's not going to cut it. We're going to figure something else out.
Yeah.
And I know it's dumb. Baker, I feel like, is the kind of guy that can get the locker room behind him really quickly, just because he's going to go in there and all of a sudden those are his brothers immediately.
Yep.
And it's like the way Baker plays on the field, he does try to get those extra yards. He will lower his shoulder. And it's like, sure, you don't want to see quarterbacks really doing that, but the locker room loves it. You know what I mean? They'll buy in on Baker ASAP wherever he goes, I'm assuming, just because he's got a little charisma, but there will be ups and downs regardless. But at the end of the day, Nate, you said it. Cleveland would have taken that 4K 28-10 out of him any year. You know,
Yep.
you'll take that any year. So good year though
Yep.
for Bake.
Yeah, that's a good quarterback season that you'll take, especially on a team that we did. I actually have our week 1 standings predictions list here with me because I thought I'd have a good laugh. We did all have Tampa Bay dead last in the NFC South. Yep, none of us gave them a fighting chance. So
I thought, yeah, I know.
Good for them, man. That's
Yeah.
the Baker Mayfield experience. He's at
That
his
is.
absolute best when nobody believes in him, and
Yep.
that's been his whole life. And
and
so
as soon as you believe in
I
him, he
love
breaks
guys
your
like
heart.
yep,
As soon as
exactly.
you believe, you're dead.
I always love rooting for guys like that, though. Can't help myself.
Yep, I get it. It's fun to watch them play well, and then it's like, oh, and here comes the heartbreak, and there it is. Yeah, agreed.
Got to side with the guy that nobody believes in, right?
Right, come on.
Everyone
It
likes
makes
the
for a great-
inspirational story.
Right, it makes for a great story. Absolutely.
Great story.